Thank you, Chairman. Agent Strzok, did you provide any information to reporters, journalists, or media personalities about anything related to Trump-Russia investigation in 2016, 17, or 18?
No.
Did the press ever talk to you, Agent Strzok, about this issue? Did they ever come to you?
The Trump-Russia collusion investigation?
Did the press ever come to you? I'm asking first, did you talk to them? I'm asking now, did they ever come to you about anything related to Trump-Russia investigation in 2016, 2017, or 2018?
I received a number of calls from various members of the media, particularly when I returned from the Office of Special Counsel. In every instance,
prior to going on the Special Counsel team, did you get any inquiries from the press that you took?
Not that I took. I referred them to the Office of Public Affairs of the FBI.
Have you read the dossier?
I have.
Okay, and you wrote about it too, didn't you?
I don't know what you mean by writing about it.
We got an email that you sent. It should be presented there, or should be in front of you there. I want you to take a look at this. This is an email you wrote to Lisa Page, Bill Priestap, Jim Baker, Jim Rubicki, and CC'd Andy McCabe. Subject line is BuzzFeed's about to publish the dossier. You familiar with this email?
I am.
All right. It says this: comparing now, the set is only identical to what McCain had. Parentheses, it has differences from what was given to us by Corn and Simpson. Did you write all that?
Congressman, let me answer it this way. The first, if I could address the chairman. Over the break, I was authorized by the General Counsel.
Hang on a second. I just want my time stopped if you could. Are you addressing me or the chairman?
I'd like to address the chairman the time. This is all going to come together in an answer.
Is there a question you want to direct?
No, it's something I wanted to answer your question from earlier based on something I've been told by the FBI.
Wait.
I think I'm aware of what the FBI told you, and you and I will have another chance to talk about that. But right now, the gentleman from Ohio controls the time. Right.
You wrote this. That was the question.
So obviously,
wait. Look at that. Do you see the from?
So Congressman, here's
do you see the from line? Do you see the from line?
Congressman, I do.
It says Peter Strzok. And then it says to Lisa Page and a whole bunch of other key people at the FBI. So did you write it?
I did write this.
All right, let me ask you a couple questions about it. It has differences from what was given to us by Corn and Simpson. Who's Corn?
Sir, to answer that question, and I would love to answer that question, and every part of me, and you know why I'd want to answer that question because you have this information.
Who's Simpson?
I have been, sir, if I may, I cannot answer that question.
You wrote about it. It's now public. Who's Corn? Who's Simpson?
Based on direction by the FBI, sir, I am not able to answer questions about ongoing investigative matters.
I just want to figure this out. I want to figure this out, Agent Strzok. You're referencing 3 copies of the dossier. The BuzzFeed copy you have, the one John McCain's staff gave to you, and the one that you said you got from Corn and Simpson. The one McCain gave to you and the one BuzzFeed has are identical, in your words, but they have the Corn and Simpson one is different.
Sir,
this is kind of important.
It is important, and I want to answer your question. And here's the position that I'm in, Congressman. I have been directed. May I answer your question?
Mr. Chairman, may the witness be permitted
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jordan repeatedly asks a question, doesn't let him answer it.
The gentleman from Ohio controls the time.
I have been directed that I may state that I have read the dossier, that I read the dossier as it came in parts and pieces.
You've already told me you read it.
And
I want to know who Corn and Simpson are.
And, sir, what I'm telling you is that I have been directed I may not state the various places
where
let me ask
you this.
FBI
I got it. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Did you ever communicate with David Corn?
No.
Did you ever communicate with Glenn Simpson?
No.
Did you ever communicate with Nellie Orr?
No. Did
you ever communicate with Bruce Orr?
Yes.
When did you communicate with Bruce Orr?
My recollection is somewhere between possibly 3 or 4 or 5 times in the late 2016, early 2017 timeframe.
What did you talk about?
We talked about investigative matters that Mr. Orr was involved in.
Did you talk about the investigation we're focused on here, Agent Strzok?
My direction from the FBI is that I may not answer that question, sir.
I got it. Let's go back to the email that you sent that you won't talk about. Are there 3 copies of the dossier as evidenced by what you said in this email?
Sir, to be clear, I want to talk about this email. I want nothing more than answer your question
because you're not talking about it. You're not answering my questions. Are there 3 copies?
3 copies of what?
The McCain copy, the BuzzFeed copy, and the one that you got from Korn and Simpson.
Sir, the most I can say is we received a variety of copies of and different types of
Let me ask you one other question. Let me ask you one other question. Glenn Simpson testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee on August 22nd, 2017. He was asked, did anyone from Fusion ever communicate with the FBI? His response, no. No one from Fusion ever spoke with the FBI. So here's what I'm having trouble understanding. If Glenn Simpson says no one ever spoke with the FBI, how is it that you got a copy of the dossier from Simpson?
Sir, I can tell you I never had contact with Fusion, with Mr. Simpson, with Mr. Korn. And again, sir.
Chairman, regular order.
The gentleman will have a few more seconds since he was interrupted.
Well, I mean, this is the frustration that every single member of this committee feels is when Agent Strzok won't answer, well, more importantly, the American people feel when Agent Strzok won't answer fundamental questions like the guy he references in an email, Korn and Simpson, and won't tell me who they are. This is unbelievable. But that's where it's gotten to now, and it's as frustrating as it can get, Mr. Chairman. I yield. So, Agent Strzok, who's being square here? Glenn Simpson says no one from Fusion spoke with the FBI. You say in your email, we got a copy of the dossier from Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, regular order.
Sir, I can't hear you.
Just a couple questions.
That's almost 5.
Agent Strzok, in earlier round, you said you never talked to Glenn Simpson, right?
Correct.
And you never talked to Nellie Orr.
We're also getting
Correct.
calls in the office.
And you wouldn't say whether you knew if Nellie Orr worked for Fusion. Is that correct?
My understanding from my direction of the FBI is I'm not permitted to answer that question.
Okay. But you did say you talked with Bruce Orr, fellow Department of Justice employee, and Nellie Orr's husband.
Yes.
But it is common knowledge that Nellie Orr worked for Fusion in the summer of 2016. Is that right?
I don't know if it's common knowledge or not.
It's been in all kinds of reports.
Oh, it is now,
all kinds
yes,
of
absolutely.
press reports. All right. You met with Bruce Orr in 2016 and 2017, so the time period that we're focused on.
To the best of my recollection, yes.
All right. And you won't tell me what you guys talked about.
Sir, I can tell you we talked about operational matters that he was involved in, but the FBI has directed me not to give you,
specifically, you can't get into specifics and details. Did Bruce Orr give you any documents?
Sir, same answer. I would like to answer that question, but the FBI has directed me not to get into.
You can't. My understanding is, Mr. Chairman, the discussions we've had with the FBI, he's allowed to tell us those kind of pieces of information. I'm not asking what the documents were. I'm just asking, did Bruce Orr ever hand you documents?
I understand full well what your question is, sir, and I would love to answer it. My understanding from the FBI is when it comes to operational details, including whether or not we collected evidence or didn't, that I'm not permitted to answer that. Sir, I would love to answer that question. All these.
I mean, you understand where I'm coming from, right, Agent Strzok?
Sir, I understand your frustration, and what I'm here to tell you is I think the answers would set you at ease.
Yeah, you understand. We got an email from you briefing everybody on the team, all the key players, Ribicki, Baker, Page, Maffa, Priestep, and Andy McCabe. And in that email, you say the dossier that you are now looking at that BuzzFeed is printing has differences from the one given to us by Korn and Simpson. Earlier today, I asked you who Korn and Simpson is, and you wouldn't answer that. It's kind of funny to me because yesterday, David Korn tweeted out, he's the Korn in your email. So the guy himself's identified himself. We all know it's David Korn, and then the other name is Simpson. So you have this, and we're wondering how the dossier got to, or if, more importantly, if the dossier got to the FBI through media sources, not just through Christopher Steele. And of course, we know Nellie Orr worked for the guy you're mentioning, Glenn Simpson. She worked for him the whole time. You've never had conversations with her, but you did have a lot of important conversations on operational matters and ongoing investigations with her husband, Bruce Orr, who's also happened to be reassigned at the Department of Justice. And I'm just wondering, and you've said that, well, you won't answer the question whether Mr. Orr has given you documents or not. So I'm just wondering if that was the route. Was that the route the dossier went? Glenn Simpson to Nellie Orr, to her husband, and then to you.
Sir, I understand.
That's my frustration.
I understand your question. I understand your frustration. I understand the absurdity of something produced that you're reading that I've been directed not to answer questions about. The best I can do is tell you I would like to answer you, and I'm afraid it's an answer that would both reassure you and disappoint you.
Well, we're going to be asking, I think, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, we're going to be asking the FBI and the Department of Justice to give us those documents that may or may not have been exchanged between Mr. Orr and Agent Strzok. I think that's something this committee would like to have and see what those, if in fact there were documents, what the heck they were. I got a minute. I'll yield it to...
Sir, you're going to love this, and it's going to upset the vote. I have been instructed that the FBI has now told me that I can answer questions about the receipt of the documents. So I will defer, Mr. Chairman, if you would like to hear that or take your vote.
The gentleman may proceed with his questions, and you may answer.
May I confer with counsel briefly to see if this is completely unbounded or if there are any limitations on what I may say?
Well, I got a lot of questions I've asked all day long.
Let's ask the one you've been told you can answer.
All right, so let's hear the answer to this one.
Which question, sir?
The one that's on the table about the documents.
Sir, the documents we received from a different source in the initial batch in mid-September.
Wait. No. I'm not understanding. You said you got, go back, did you get documents from Bruce Orr?
Yes, at some point we received material from Mr. Orr.
You got documents from Bruce Orr. And what were those documents?
We received documents from Mr. Orr, not me. Excuse me, sir.
I can maybe make it simpler. Agent Strzok, was it the dossier?
Sir, what I am authorized to tell you, in response to a question, did you receive any documents from Bruce Orr, the FBI has directed me that I may say, not me, the FBI received documents and material from Mr. Orr.
Did you? I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But you did not from Mr. Orr?
No.
Okay. But the FBI did get documents from Bruce Orr?
Yes, sir.
Did they get the dossier from Bruce Orr?
My direction from the FBI, as I may tell you, the FBI received material from Mr. Orr.
Now, this
Congressman,
this is amazing. This is amazing. So Nellie Orr,
as you are.
Nellie Orr works for Fusion, works for Glenn Simpson, and she's giving documents.
Regular order, please. Let us bring the director of the FBI to answer those questions. The gentleman cannot answer.
Well,
he's asked and answered.
The American people.
He's asked and answered. He cannot answer.
The gentlewoman.
Let's have Director
the regular order is.
I understand, Mr. Chairman. Regular order.
The FBI has now instructed Mr. Strzok that he can answer additional questions, and Mr.
Agent Strzok, I asked him other questions.
Additional time to get the answers to those questions that he earlier was thwarted in getting.
The FBI approved.
Has the FBI also given you permission to say if Glenn Simpson is the name that you use when in the email where you say Simpson?
I don't believe they have given me guidance. My most recent understanding of my guidance from the FBI is in response to the question of whether the FBI received documents from Mr. Orr. The answer is that yes, we did, and that's all I'm authorized to say.
Has the FBI given you information to tell me whether you knew Nellie Orr worked for Fusion at the time you were meeting with her husband?
Sir, to my knowledge, the FBI has not directed me to or allow me to respond to that.
All right. I yield back. Thank you.